Yeah, I guess. But for you then, with success, do you talked about signing with Solar, getting a separate producers agreement, and writing these songs. Um, who is teaching you about the business side? Because you're learning the actual musicianship and producing side, but they're two
Yeah.
sides to the. Okay.
Actually, Dick Griffey taught me the business side
Wow.
because I got a better education from working under him than most people who went to law school in entertainment business because I didn't know what publishing was, music publishing, which is if a writer writes a song, the writer owns half of it, the publisher owns the other half of it.
Mm.
But really, publishing is something somebody made up 100 years ago just to take money from people who wrote songs. That's what it is. They just made it up. Okay, but it's okay. That's the rule. So he would sign um, songwriters, and then whatever money the song made, he'd get half of it, and the songwriter would get the other half. And I thought, well, and I noticed people who wrote songs really had lots of money, really lived well. Producers did well too, but songwriters would get paid from the first record sold, and producers had to wait.
Mm.
And I thought, okay. And that changed the trajectory of me as a businesswoman in music, which we can get back to. But
Mm.
just seeing how he did things, knowing what I had to sign, and then him signing, LA and Babyface, like as they came in with the deal, because the deal came after us.
Yeah.
And I was for after the Menopause album, Kenny was in, they weren't famous, but I had heard some of the songs he did, and I was like, well, you are such a really nice songwriter, and your voice is like silky smooth.
Mm.
So he gave me a cassette with a couple of songs on it. He said, could you record or produce either of these songs on Klymaxx? I said, I'll listen to them. And so a version of I'd Still Say Yes was one of those songs. And I was like, can I change some stuff, rewrite some parts? And he's like, do whatever you want. So I did that. And then I went and got Howard Hewitt, my favorite from Shalimar, to have him sing along with me. And that was like a top 15 pop record. But I knew when I heard Kenny's songs, I was like, this kid has just great songs and melodies, like the Beatles, just
Mm.
melody and chord structure, simple, easy to follow stuff. So before they were famous, and I think I'd Still Say Yes at least as a writer, was his first pop record, I think,
Ah.
because they were writing songs for the Whispers that hadn't hit yet, but they, that's funny. So I think it was after I'd Still Say Yes, then he had a lot more success with stuff that he was doing. But he was all I knew instantly. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I was calculating songwriting money. Okay, so you get half, and then Mr. Griffey gets half. Okay, I'm gonna go find me some songwriters eventually. Yes.
Oh, so that was so for you to set up your own publishing and sign songwriters, is that what you were thinking longer term?
Oh yes. Yes. Hmm.
Oh, but then so Mr. Griffith didn't actually bring you in to explain how he does it. It's just that you observed and watched and so
Right. And then I'd have things in my own contract, and then I would be like everybody had a regular contract, but of course I have to be special and difficult. So I have to have meetings to talk about what this means and what that means. And so the attorney would explain it to me. And I was like, oh. And then I'd add stuff like, well, if you want to, like, they have complete control of everything. But I had certain things like, I don't want you to make certain like religious references in my songs or use it for something like, you can't take my song and give it to a serial killer as a theme song. Like, I know it's ridiculous, but there were things that I thought about of how morally or politically I didn't want to have my stuff used. And most people aren't thinking about that. And they were like, that's no problem. That's no problem. But I also got to discuss what these different things meant. And so I got a great education like that.
yeah, and I guess this is something that when I spoke with Mickey Howard and other females, is that when you seem to be want to know more and have a lot more understanding and about the business side, there seems to be a sense of, oh, you're being difficult now. No one else is in it because it seems if most people are just happy to be there. So they just sign away and just sing. And it's like, worry about the money 20 years later. But it feels if women who tend to be like, okay, what's going on here? It's like, oh, you're being difficult. How did you manage to overcome that? Being, everybody wants, if you buy something and you don't count your change, that would be silly. But the fact that you're counting your change to make sure that you got it correctly doesn't, why should that be held against you?
Well, I will say in my case, like Mr. Griffey didn't hold anything against me. Sometimes he said no. The first time we met in a meeting with the girls, I was telling him how I deserved a producer contract because blah, 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 blah. He embarrassed me in the worst way. I had just gotten there in front of all of them. And I was just holding my tongue. He's like, I don't care if so-and-so's dog produces. You don't have no contract. It was on and on and on. But that didn't slow me down. I came right back in his face. Not like with the group. I was like, okay, I write some good songs. These are my songs. And he listened to them and he was like, okay, you got my respect. So you can get knocked down, but he, at least for one, never held it against me. He met me on the loading dock, following people around like, hey, listen to me, listen to me. So he respected the fact that also I would work. He had to tell me to please stop washing cars. Here's a producer contract, go buy some clothes. Okay. Because I was always willing to do the work. So in this case, and Mickey's right about that, and not just women, but especially women, because we are considered to be less than. So she's absolutely right. In this particular case, in this one instance, at least with Mr. Griffey and like with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who encouraged all of us, it was not that way.
Okay.
But it took proof because they, were around us. They were sitting with us all the time. They were seeing us. And so we earned their respect.
But being somebody who as you are thinking ahead and learning, how does that make others in the group? Because they may think, look, we're just singing, we're doing our records, going on tour, we're happy what was going on. You may be rocking a boat. Does that ever come across, or does that others either lean on and think, yep, Joyce is onto something here where we can get ourselves educated, or is like, hey, Joyce, what's going on here?
I was sort of considered a bit of a troublemaker from the standpoint of, I just came differently. I had already been in the business before I got here, and everybody in the group played their part. Great musicians, great people. But Dick Griffey said one thing to us all in a meeting at the very beginning. We all equal under poverty. But as soon as somebody starts making some money, we ain't equal no more. And I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't know what he was talking about. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean down the road. But even with other things I was doing, which ultimately led to them kicking me out of the group, initially it was okay. They just felt like I was like maybe just doing too much. Or some people felt like I was just always doing too much or pushing too hard or trying to change too much. And I get it. We're all different. I've always been that way since day one. I came into the world that way.
Yeah. No, I mean, yes. I mean, so you start off, making friends around the country and you've had to adapt and change. So, but then the hustle to get into the industry, I guess if you grew up in Los Angeles, it probably might not have been as hard as because it's a different environment.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that kind of
and somewhere in between
us or even loving us, on which I didn't miss you with.
What was it like growing up?
She's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple of pieces.
trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No. Okay, Okay. Yeah.
They understand what Jonas boys and men are all
Play it.
I mean, I love all different genres.